Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wowhead Weekly number 273. I swear I said weekly there, but it sounded like I just skipped half the word. Anyways, we are in week 2 of patch 9.1 and are patiently waiting for the NA servers to go live so we can finally take part in the new cinematic. Who knows? It might happen mid-episode today. With today's show, we have the week 2 things to discuss in general, let you guys know what is available, what has changed since last week, and what you can get ready to jump into as of today for NA and tomorrow for EU. Before we jump into anything, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Annie, or also known as Annie Fuchsia, and I'm a full-time streamer on Twitch, playing games. World of Warcraft, lately lots of Final Fantasy as well. My co-host is a Wowhead site director and very lovely woman, Perculia.
Kirk, thank you for that nice introduction. We had a bright paw very temporarily just now. And yeah, obviously it's a busy time for Wowhead with 9.1, and I do a lot of work behind the scenes, overseeing all the guides and news and features. And it's nice to do the show to be in front of the camera and discuss kind of the, most popular stuff on the site and what you might be interested in. So yeah, when we planned on doing the show on Tuesday to help Annie schedule, we thought that as a silver lining, we would have like fresh cinematics we could react to right away, especially Sylvanas. But then there was maintenance just announced like an hour ago that further pushed back servers going up. So fingers crossed that by the end of the show, we will have a Sylvanas cinematic to discuss.
Yeah, that would be really
so
cool. We're expecting, we're expecting the cinematic today, and we don't know what it's going to be about. And cinematics by Blizzard are normally really well made, and I can't wait to know what's going on. You know, what's going to happen with Sylvanas after we defeat her in the raid. It's going to be really exciting to see very soon,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, I mean we know that there's some encrypted cinematics on the way. I think one of the three was the Night Warrior one we'll discuss very soon, and that means that there are two more, so people are assuming one for the end of the raid, and then something tied to like the whole Tyrande Elune Night Warrior climax later on. But yeah, we know the time of it. It's not like a 20-second cinematic, so we're not getting another Nyalotha. But it's sort of like, I think there's the ones left are maybe in the 3-minute range. So I still think there's going to be some questions because it's not like, a 7-minute cinematic. It's like, there's only so much that can happen in 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, a cinematic that we do have access to is the one from last week, the Tyranno Cinematic, which you just briefly mentioned as well. Maybe it's time to take a look at that?
Yeah, let's start off with that.
I think that's a good plan. Let's check it out together.
Yeah.
Tyrande, I understand you've been looking for me. Come then. Show me Elune's wrath.
Elune gave me her strength. The wrath is mine alone!
Night Warrior. I expected more.
I will take your head, Banshee! Just like I took his! Nathanos, you didn't know. Your master is keeping secrets from you!
They've broken through! Fall back! Fall back!
A trick. No! Eluna, it is time. Inqua Melema. At last.
And yet, the knight's power wanes. Once again, she denies you victory.
Mother Moon, do not forsake me. End this.
Bask in the dying embers of your goddess's bargain, Tyrande. Nothing lasts.
Tyrande, can you hear me? Tyrande?
All right. A big cinematic.
Yeah, so visually, that looked really cool. Really appreciating Tyran's new look.
Yeah, finally getting some proper screen time too.
Yeah, that fight was like a huge visual upgrade over what we saw with her and Nathanos. So whether that's because she's going to play an important role, so she got an updated model, or her powers are stronger, so she looks cooler doing things. Either way, think she looks awesome.
She really does. She does look really awesome, super badass, and so pretty too at the same time. Like the sort of what's the word? Like the galactic type of theme is so nice in her skin.
Yeah, it really suits the whole Night Warrior appearance, how the tattoos aren't just like blue or purple, but they have the stars in them, like it is
spectral.
the night sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought that in addition to seeing her fight against Sylvanas really well, it was nice to see her at the start killing that construct. Like that was such a badass pose, and it's showing that we can see her using her powers to help the greater good. That she's not just been using them for personal game, like Arya in Game of Thrones to go after people on a hit list. That this isn't just like a horrible power that corrupts her. It can actually help turn the tide of battle and help the Night Fae.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I also liked how at the start, I really liked the line where Sylvanas is taunting her, and she said something to the effect that Elune gave her the power, but the wrath was all hers. And you can see she was like really calm and collected at the start, like how she was getting in Sylvanas's head about Nathanos dying and Sylvanas not knowing where he was. Like I thought that was like really tactical and got under Sylvanas's skin, and we actually saw a moment of weakness. Like she totally pressed the advantage. It wasn't just like, oh look, I'm casting moon power thing. Like she was very cunning, and that was like all Tyrande, not just the Night Warrior power. So
because it was not just the strength, it was the mental play on the whole thing, and that was really cool to see. And Sylvana's reaction to it makes us then wonder, does she not know anything about what's going on with Nathanos?
Yeah, so why don't I mean there's definitely several questions in the cinematic. So yeah, why don't we tackle the Nathanos one first, which
Mm-hmm.
was you know, we were all kind of eye rolling when Sylvanas and Nathanos in the pre-patch Nathanos was like, "Oh, whatever, like I'll just meet up with Sylvanas, like I win again, you know,
Yeah.
haha, like, you know." And it's like, you know, why doesn't this guy ever lose for a change? Like everything just fits into this, you know,
Always gets
master
away.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting to see that, you know, he was wrong how things would turn out. And, you know, and it's interesting because that Sylvanas didn't know because she seems to be overprepared with everything. And you think that she would have known if her, like, you know, agent on Azeroth had not met up yet. So
Yeah.
that means that she probably didn't know that uh Tyrande was successful at defeating him. Like she has no idea, and then that could further unravel her plans on Azeroth if she thought that Nathanos was like secretly, you know, causing chaos for the past few months, and he wasn't. He was dead.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So
Lots of questions in her
yeah.
own mind too. Maybe she was thinking even that Nathanas will, yeah, like take care of the stuff going on there, and now she has more things to worry about with him, being gone. Like, where is he?
Yeah, and when Anduin would complain that, you know, why are you following the jailer? You know, he's clearly unjust, and she's like, oh, he'll give us a choice. She could be
Mm-hmm.
thinking, you know, I have no idea what happened to Nathanos. Like, I've not seen him in Torghast. Like,
Uh-huh.
did he have a choice? You know, is the jailer, you know, lying to me? Like, is he being tortured? You know, like, why? Maybe the jailer promised, he'd be okay, or maybe she just assumed that the jailer's agents would be taken care of. Like, remember in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
past cinematic when Sire Denathrius was trapped and Sylvanas was like, so yeah, we're gonna go after him, right?
Oh, yeah, I
And the jailer was
remember.
like, whatever, like,
Yeah,
I don't
like
care.
he's
Yeah.
done what he needed to do, so, he's
Yeah.
fine. Or like we're fine. We don't need him right now, so whatever. And yeah, maybe she did indeed just assume that the jailer would, be aware of what's going on and potentially do something. Maybe she will go to the jailer and be like, "Wait, did you know about this Nathana stuff going on?" And maybe the jailer knew and didn't tell her, perhaps. And I think that's also some potential for what could happen next with Sylvanas too, facing the jailer with the Nathanos topic.
Yeah, it's also interesting because at the end of the Shadows Rising novel, which, you know, Blizzard had a huge hand in overseeing like the characters' reactions, it ends where you know, Sylvanas is like super caught up in the jailer's hype. She just defeated Bolvar. She's like, you know, high on adrenaline and her future and thinking about how she'll change her destiny. And like Nathanos, what happens to Nathanos, like she's annoyed that he was unsuccessful at the plot in Shadows Rising, but she's just like, whatever, on to bigger things.
Yeah.
Like she's used to things were going her way. So it's interesting that now she does kind of have an emotional reaction
Mm-hmm.
after, you know, she's been playing it cool with her victories. Like
Yep.
it definitely seems that as soon as something does not go her way, like, you know, think back to Sourfang and BFA, that she gets like very, you know, emotional
Emotional.
and
Yeah.
kind of shows her hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's a little cliched if they try to, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but if they try to like play up a romance angle and it's like, oh, you know, like Sylvanas' love for Nathanos like made her show
Yeah.
emotions, like that is cliched. I think it's more complicated than that because it's like the one character from before her transformation that still, you know, believed in her and was
Mm-hmm.
also like, you know, like a military tactician for her, like following her orders. But you know, maybe the book will fill in more of the blanks, but I can see that if you're a casual player that just remembers the whole like Sylvanas, my love from, you know, 825, that you could be
Yeah.
like, oh, like, you know, the love for Nathanos made her see humanity, not, you know, terrible wars that happened.
Yeah. No.
um but yeah, I know there's some speculation that people are thinking maybe the jailer is like holding on to Nathanos, or like has the good part of Sylvanas' soul hidden away, as that fairy tale implies, and like maybe that will be part of the cinematic or part of her story in the future. But yeah, it'll be funny if like the cinematic just drops now and they were like, oh, like we were thinking our opinions based on, what we are
And we were
seeing.
completely right. Our speculations are on
Yeah.
point.
Um, but yeah, so that was interesting to see. The other part, which I think was more controversial, was the whole, why did Loon's powers fade from Tyrande at the
Yeah.
end?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a bit nuanced, and if you pay attention to the subtitles, which not everyone does, it makes a little more sense. But I think that if you're someone that is tired of being a night elf punching bag, it's still like it's still going to be like a hard sell. Like, you start the cinematic where Tyrande is like snarky, she's in control, and then it's like another let down no matter how much it makes more sense. But I think what's interesting is that we start off the cinematic where Tyrande is clearly helping the Night Fae, and then she gets, caught up fighting Sylvanas, and that seems to be like a trick or a distraction. Uh, like, she was busy fighting Sylvanas, and the Night Fae are calling for a retreat. And I think that's where the dynamic seems to change, where Tyrande goes after Sylvanas instead of deciding to help the Night Fae, her powers fade soon after that. Like, it looks really cool how she's, going through the sky
Yeah.
and, is like, it looked awesome.
It did.
But then you have to realize that she decided to go after Sylvanas as opposed to being like, imagine if she used that sort of power to prevent the Night Fae from retreating.
Do you think then the power wouldn't have faded? Because then it's been used for something that's not anger, vengeance?
Yeah, yeah, I think that she wasn't using so I think that she wasn't using the powers properly, but
Yeah.
it's always tricky discussing cosmic forces like we've said in the past, because then it's
Yeah.
like, well, how come she was allowed to kill Nathanos, or how was she allowed to do this other thing? These other night warriors use their power for whatever, and they ended up being corrupted by it, and passing away. Like, why wasn't Elune like, oh, using this for bad, removing it? So it's like when you just start discussing all these big forces and you try to get all scientific with them, then there's like more and more holes in the narrative instead of just, capturing the mystique. But my interpretation of it was that Elune has big things planned for Tyrande, who has been her like faithful disciple for thousands of years, and wanted, is looking out for the night elves in her own way, and did not want Tyrande to be consumed by her vengeance.
Yeah.
Did not want Tyrande to give her life using her powers to defeat Sylvanas, because that subtitle part says my life for hers right before she flies into the sky. And Elune could have been like, oh, she's gonna kill herself trying to defeat Sylvanas, and then the Night Elves will be, left without
alone.
a leader, and this could then affect the fate of Ardenweald, or other. There could be big implications. So maybe Elune decided to intervene, while previously Elune didn't have as much of a connection to the other Night Warriors, because Tyrande is like the High Priestess of Elune, so maybe Elune is watching out for her more. I guess we'll learn in the future. But yeah, so that was my take on it. That she just, when it became clear that she was pursuing like this personal end, and
Yeah.
it was like vengeance based, and she could kill herself trying to use all the magic to defeat Sylvanas,
Yeah,
Elune
especially the
then tried
willingness
to
to
pull
give up
things back.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Also going back to the fairy tale, about Sylvanas and Varisa, there's a little bit that implies that Sylvanas' spirit, the good part of it, before meeting up with the jailer, should have gone to Ardenweald if she died during Warcraft 3. So you don't know if there's some bigger cosmic thing going on with Blizzard's focus on, the cosmic forces trying to get control of Azeroth, or, maybe Elune wanted to keep Sylvanas alive for a reason, or didn't want her to die, like, in the zone where she was meant to go, or recognize that something unjust happened to her. Like, you don't know if there's anything going on. Maybe the mystery cinematic will have things make more sense, but it is interesting.
Do you think this cinematic would cover Tyrande too?
I don't think it would, although it is, I mean, it to me it's weird that like Jaina keeps showing up with all these boss fights that Tyrande has like more narrative sense to be part of.
Yeah.
Like Ashara, like they were, sworn
Yeah.
enemies,
Yep.
War of the Ancients, and then it's like Jaina, and now it's, you know, Sylvanas, and I don't think Tyrande will be addressed at all. I think her story kind of ends in the Covenant campaign where, like, eventually she learns how to keep her powers in check and she moves more towards rebuilding. But to me it's weird that she's just not present for these fights where you think she'd have a very like intense interest
Yeah, because
in.
it would make sense. I'm just thinking in terms of if you look at the cinematics itself and timing of it, because we have this cinematic now with Tyrande and Sylvanas, and then we have, potentially the Sylvanas fight in the raid with another cinematic potentially as part of the raid itself, and maybe that would be too much Sylvanas.
Wait, do you mean too much Sylvanas or too
Sorry,
much
it's too much Tyrande. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh yeah,
No,
we
no, no.
definitely got too much Sylvanas.
We're definitely getting Sylvanas. Oh, we know that. I wonder if
Yeah.
it's maybe too much Tyrande.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky, right? Because she doesn't have a book tying into her.
That's true as well.
And
Sylvanas has a booking coming too.
yeah, and I feel like Tyrande was kind of like this harsh night elf who, told Anduin off and has throughout history she's kind of been like aloof. Her character has been a bit inconsistent, like in Mist of Pandaria. Like Varian needed to teach her the meaning of patience in this scenario. Like it's like it's kind of all over the place with her.
Yeah.
And even in the pre-patch, she was doing all this stuff in the BFA pre-patch, trying to save Teldrassil, and had a lot of guilt that she couldn't save the town, but she could help those coming through the portal. Like there was a lot of stuff she was doing, but in the quests that most people just did, you didn't see her at all really, and she looked kind of flaky.
Yeah.
So
And to be
I
fair, now
think,
that you mentioned BFA as well, go ahead first.
but like I think that she might need like more of a build-up to be sympathetic before people are like, "Oh my God, this like
Yeah.
whiny do-nothing elf is everywhere now." Like I don't understand.
I was just thinking back to BFA and how we were talking at the time, with everything that happened to Teldrassil. Why do we actually not see Tyrande anywhere? So with that in mind, I think it would actually make sense to potentially still see a little bit of Tyrande here too. Because we had this big cinematic now as well with her and Sylvanas, and then we had that little one with her killing Nathanos, and then this would be like a third time of screen time for her, whereas in BFA I think she got nothing, and maybe it is to kind of give back, and maybe they knew even back then that they were going to focus so much on her later that they don't need to put her on the screen so much. So maybe that would hint towards her being part of the Sylvanas fight as well, or not the Sylvanas fight, but the repercussions, the consequences of that fight, of that raid. Maybe Tyrande will also take a place in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I think both of their stories kind of suffer from the same sense of prolonging the mystery, that they're important to the narrative, but you can't see too much of them. You're meant to guess at what they're doing because they want it to have like a big payoff or shock moment later on.
Yeah.
And that can maybe work in like some way for like marketing or cinematic hype, but it definitely it's a gamble. There are definite shortcomings because if you purposely don't keep Tyrande on the screen and you say, oh, we're gonna save her and not have her face off her longtime enemy Ashara, or we have a reason why she won't be in the Sylvanas fight. It's and you only get like little glimpses of her here and there. Yeah, it's really cool when you see her with like her full, Night Warrior tattoos. But it's, it definitely is a sense of, does this make sense? Like if this was a book, it would be like not that satisfying. Or likewise with Sylvanas, it's like, oh, she's doing all these important things, but like we never really see her. Like she's purposely kept a mystery. So it's like, it definitely, whenever the cinematic drops, it will get people talking, but it might be better for the overall health and storytelling if it wasn't just like, we're gonna trot this character out, answer one question, set you up with another mystery, and then like pull them back again.
Yeah.
And like with Tyrande, it's like, yeah, we finally saw her kicking ass, and it's like, but why did Elune pull back? That's what we'll learn about
give her
this
the power and then we'll take it away.
9-2. Like it's it's sort of like tune in next time.
Yeah.
And I think people just want like more time addressing a character. Like the Jaina arc, I thought in BFA was really cool.
Yeah.
And Thrall as well. Like you got to see their character arcs and they sort of left at a sensible place and their stories can still move forward and have development, but it wasn't like, oh, cliffhanger, Jaina is hidden in Thros the Blasted Lands, or, Thrall has a dark secret. They just sort of progress at a nice,
and it became so wholesome
pace.
Because of the families too. Like Jaina reuniting with her family, and we saw a little bit of that with Thrall as well. And my headset just died, so I can't hear you. Actually, no, it didn't die. It's just low battery. Okay. I can still hear you. We're good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also on the topic of Elune power, just being taken away like that, I can't remember who it was, but somebody either commented or made a meme or something along those lines of how that moment was a clear example of us having borrowed power every expansion.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was really funny.
I don't remember who it was. I can't credit, but I remember reading that and I thought it was so funny. It's like, oh no, the Elune power, it was just borrowed. But yeah,
I do think that it is a little overkill how we've sort of had a third like Tyranno cinematic of, like a bittersweet victory, because we had that in-game cinematic, cutscene of the Warfront where she kills the Valkyr, but Nathanos escapes and transforms the Night Elves, and then we had the victory against Nathanos, which felt hollow, and now it's Tyran's power ebbing while Sylvanas clearly keeps the jailers badass, power. And she doesn't just barely escape with her life, she does her whole like villain, mustache twirling speech of like, haha, Tyran's and Ysera. Like it's just like we're just like repeating this, like we understand the message, like, if something bad happens to you but you're really upset and lash out in vengeance, that's the wrong play. Like I understand this morality lesson. But it's just
still important to make a point.
Yeah, it just feels like the same point is being made, and it's like, okay, well, why don't we get some like nuance on the Sylvanas side? Because like, we understand like, Uther being upset over Arthas, bad. Tyranno being upset over Teldrassil, bad reaction. Sylvanas, doing whatever she wants, like maybe she'll secretly be a heroine, and I don't know, it just feels like we need to like mix things up a bit. And like I said before, I think that knowing that subtitle makes the cinematic more interesting. But if you're a Night Elf or Alliance player that has followed along with the story, you're just gonna be like, okay, I get it, like we're still the punching bag, like, you're not gonna feel satisfied no matter how many subtitles you've translated.
I just saw a comment in the chat about the Sylvanas book, and yes, we talked about this last week's episode, and it has indeed been delayed officially. So it was on November originally, and now it's been delayed to February, if I remember correctly. So yeah, indeed been delayed.
So, I mean, my guess is that the team, the authors said that they'd like more time to work and polish it. my guess would be that if something is unclear from the quest line or the raid, that maybe they would take the time to
Fix it or
emphasize
include it. Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
more.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they thought something was obvious, but it was actually, subtle, or not
Mm-hmm.
many people, I don't know, people forgot to do a quest or something. But I think the timing is also
Oh
interesting
no,
because,
people skip the quest that explains everything.
yeah,
Okay, now we need to add it to the book to make sure people don't miss it. No, but seriously, it is true. Not
yeah,
maybe like that, but a lot of times Blizzard would listen to community speculation and thoughts on lore, and if they feel like something has been missed or maybe not missed but just misunderstood, then it is important for them to adjust their writing to make sense.
yeah. There was also a very interesting interview that Novel conducted with the author of Shadows Rising, and she was
Oh, when was
talking
that?
about how it was last summer, right when the book came out.
Okay, okay.
And there's a lot of emphasis that Blizzard calls all of the story beats, and it's not just like get from point A to point B, but it's a lot of kind of micro managey things, such as you know Anduin is angry, but Anduin needs to have
Yeah, I remember
like a
now.
shadow tendril, or
Mm-hmm.
write
It
Anduin
was
in
very
such a way
specific.
to set up Arthas parallels, which, as we've seen now with Anduin becoming the agent of the jailer, it makes sense why Blizzard wanted to foreshadow that in the book. But everything is very deliberate, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not like Christy Golden is like, oh, I've suddenly decided on my own that Sylvanas needs like some random new thing. Like everything is done closely with Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
I think that extra time could also mean that like the prose and the editing could be tightened,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely, it's not just like the author is off writing a book by themselves. It is
Many
everything is done very
guidances
closely with
and
Blizzard.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was interesting. I just got reminded because we did talk about that before. Yeah, about how a lot of the directions for the book were actually very, very specific, which sometimes could perhaps leave very little space for the author to be creative with things because they have to make sure that they pinpoint and touch on all the different things that Blizzard specifically wants to be included because they deem it important for the story.
Yeah, like I remember with Shadows Rising, there was a bit where like Anduin goes to Goldshire and like blows off some steam and tries to have like a secret, like regular guy identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that was something the author really wanted to put in, and she wanted to go farther with that. And Blizzard's like no, but yeah, you can have him, just showing he's like a regular kind of vulnerable guy pretending to be a soldier at the bar. So like that was a compromise of how that was negotiated in, but it wasn't the author just being like, "Hey Blizzard, I added in like all these things.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
decided Anduin will like
Yeah, I
be
decided to
use
add
the
a
light when
tendril.
he's angry."
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll learn what happens to Sylvanas hopefully shortly. I did just see that the official tweet went out that maintenance has been extended an hour to 3 p.m. Pacific.
Wait,
So,
so does that mean further delay?
yeah.
Okay.
It was 2 p.m. previously, as in it should have gone live right now,
Okay.
but
And now
it's
it's
not.
in an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Time zones are
Um,
difficult. Mm-hmm.
but yeah, just sort of going back to the Tyranno Cinematic, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think my thoughts are basically like, looks really awesome, cinematic, visuals, pacing, A plus. It's just going back to some maybe my concerns with the book. Blizzard needs certain things to happen, so that's why you're always left with this, question at the end of the cinematic. And if Blizzard's like, well, Sylvanas has to live, or, we're going to reveal a loon in several more patches, those things have
Mm-hmm.
to happen. And I think those things, uh, maybe make the experience less hype than if the cinematic team was just like, I'm gonna do my own freestyle thing on Tyrande.
Yeah, no, because
Um,
they need to make sure that if they make every little aspect so specific, then all the different
mm,
parts have to also match each other to make sense. That way
Yeah.
they can refer back to things, and threads can be connected, dots can be connected rather. So it makes sense from like a consumer point of view, to have those things be absolutely overlapping, not overlapping, but making 100% sense. Otherwise, it will just
Yeah.
confuse us.
But yeah, I mean, I think my favorite moment from the cinematic was when Tyran's kind of smirking and she's telling Sylvanas, like, oh, like, you didn't know Nathanos wasn't there,
Yeah.
and then, like, throws her weapons and gains the upper hand. Like, that to me was, like, really fascinating because that was, like, a really good character contrast. Like, it's the little moments to me that stand out. Like, she's clearly using her powers, but she's also using her cunning, and she's using this like crazy blend of magic and physical skill, but also with her words she is gaining the upper hand on Sylvanas. And to me
It
that
was
was
a
like the
really
most
cool
satisfying,
scene.
as opposed to being like, why did the powers go away, like, does like what does this mean for Elune? Like, to me, that's, I feel like the magic can get distilled when you start needing to like major in like Warcraft physics, like we were talking about last week with
Warcraft
Tazavesh.
physics.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's true.
like we were like, this book, there's a lot here. Oh my god, I'm tired reading this book.
Yep. Yep.
So, um, but yeah, one of the cinematics I think will be tied to the end of the Chiron story, where we see how she's struggling with the Night Warrior powers and how people are trying to save her, because obviously this moment is like a definite blow to her ego that's really hungry for vengeance.
Yep.
Like at the end, Ysera's like, "Can you hear me?" And she's just like, totally withdrawn, depressed, not talking, slumped over. So, I wonder if we'll see Elune at that point, like if
Yeah.
if we're coming full circle. So
Yeah, it definitely, in a way, opened more questions than answered anything, the whole cinematic. Um, which hopefully will then be answered, at least somewhat, in this new one that we can expect very soon.
yeah, I mean, I think it's totally fine to end some cinematics with questions, but I think going back to Thrall and Jaina, part of the reason why we're saying they were wholesome or like fun to follow along with was that they reached like a good stopping point with all of them. And some of them didn't have answers. Like some of them didn't
Yeah.
have questions. It was
Yeah.
just like cool, or we Jaina and her mom are reunited. It's not like Jaina and her mom are reunited, but like her, something horrible happens to her brother in the same cinematic. And I think sometimes you just need to like pause before and like appreciate the story, let it soak in before you move on to the next thing. And
And maybe we need
I
those
guess,
like simple, humane stories too. Like
yeah,
family relationships. Maybe sometimes adding that makes things feel more easier to take in.
relatable.
Relatable, that's the word. Yes. Maybe
Yeah.
it feels more relatable that way, because in a way, her interaction with Sylvanas, making Sylvanas realize that she has no idea what's going on with Nathanos, was very personal and very relatable for
Yeah.
us. Whereas the Elune making her powers fade is a little bit more magical and a little bit more question marks around the whole thing.
Yeah, like no one wants to sound that they're dumb or wrong, and I think that when you have all these questions or people are so fired up, it's hard to join a conversation because you don't want to be like, well, I think this, and someone's like, no, you're wrong, like you didn't read this book, and then someone else is like, actually, person B, you're
Yeah.
wrong too, because you didn't read this other source, or you didn't do this alliance only quest that explains things more. And it definitely gets discussion going. So if Blizzard cares about things like engagements or wants people to discuss things because that helps algorithms, I can see it's good for that. But I also think that sometimes you want things to be welcoming and having people feel hype that they can talk about it, not that they're like hesitant to because they don't know what's going on. People don't want to seem ignorant about something that's their hobby.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, I'm a little I think the Sylvanas cinematic will look really cool. I'm sure it will have like amazing pacing and like a dramatic climax, but based on the data mine encryption length, it's not like a mini film. So I definitely think that
It's gonna leave us
there's
with
going
more
to be
questions.
it will leave us with more questions, and because she's been teased as such a mystery this whole time, it's going to be a Game of Thrones where people will be upset, like, no matter what happens, and then the further questions will be, well, the cinematic made it seem like she was A, but maybe with the open-ended vibe, like, she's actually B. And um I definitely feel for the people on the Warcraft team, because they're just following instructions, trying to create a compelling product. But if you are disappointed with whatever happens in the cinematic, don't yell at the people working on it. Like,
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
not healthy.
Yeah,
So
absolutely agree. And that's with anything really in the game in general. I feel like that's a whole other big topic that I'm not sure that we want to like completely bring up right now. But in general, whenever something in the game is out, it's very important to not go and just, lash on the one dev or the one whoever Blizzard representative that because it's this person's fault that this is the way it is. I think that's something that people should always remember. These things there's a lot of people behind it, and a lot of talented people around it too, who've put a
yeah,
lot of
like a
work
lot
in
of
it.
people were trying to blame like the one of the authors for the burning of Teldrassil because she wrote the book, and I'm like, well, she was assigned to write the books and given the plot points. She did not personally decide this story, like.
Yeah.
And I just don't want people to be going after like any of the teams involved in this. Many of them are just doing what they were told and trying to cram in as much nuance as they can to a short time frame. They're doing the best with what they can do.
Yeah. The
And
best with
if
what they're
people,
given.
yeah, I mean, I think that the best way to go about things is that just trying to be measured and leave insightful comments. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the cosmic mystery element, so I'm trying to explain that in a very calm way on this show. Or, I'd like more cinematics that end on a satisfying note or don't follow the same structure of, Tyrande defeated at the end. Like, what have we learned? Like, I'm trying to convey that in a very kind of polite but detailed way. And I think that's the best way to express something, not going after any one person or like being hyperbolic, but just focusing on what the specific is that actually bugs you about something. And if you are dissatisfied by something, spend time finding like a book or like a story arc in a game or some other narrative you enjoy, so you're not just like stewing in the bad vibes. You can actually be like, okay, like, I know what I dislike, but I also know what I like. And I think that makes you like a more informed critic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a good point. And I see quite a few people mentioning things in the chat as well. And comments like, how do we appreciate something we don't enjoy? It's not
I meant like, yeah, like appreciate something else. Like if you don't like something, like it's totally fine to check out and not like the story. And like,
Exactly.
just so you find something
Focus
else
on the
you
things you
enjoy.
exactly.
Like maybe you enjoy a story from another game, so you can spend like make sure you just spend some time for your mental health, like playing the other game, or reading a book in a different fantasy universe if you're not getting what you want out of this night elf story.
Exactly.
That's
going to be a tough one in general on the topic of perception or response from people. No matter what the story for Sylvanas will be, there's going to be huge outcry because people are so sick of her, but at the same time there's people who love her too. It's such an important character because she's been around for so long, and at this point her story has been dragged out so much, and that I think it's a kind of impossible for Blizzard to have any kind of ending for her that would make everyone happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've discussed like Game of Thrones parallels in the past,
Yeah.
and I think that's also, it's still again relevant here, and also some of the same concerns I have with Tyrande. Like, people are tired of seeing Tyrande, apparently be badass, but then fail at the last minute. People are
Mm-hmm.
tired of Sylvanas, you know, coming in, beating everyone up, and then doing a villain speech and flying away. Like, we've had
Mm-hmm.
that with the Shadowlands launch cinematic, we've had that with the Sourfang duel, and now we've had that with Tron. Like, literally says her speech and, flies away.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have this mix of repetitive elements and while also keeping a character's motivations hidden, it leads to that weird contrast of, okay, like, I'm tired of this character doing the same
Yeah.
thing, but
Like, can
also,
this be enough?
like, I don't know anything about this character because we just like trot her out for a big moment and then we, hide her
Mm-hmm.
for a while. So I think like you lead to that weird sense of we're seeing her too much and too little.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then if you just focus on the big story beats like Game of Thrones kind of was in the past seasons and you skip all the nuance and character development in favor of like the one shock moment, yeah, you get people talking, but like, is it a good way to tell a story? Like, does it
Mm-hmm.
hold up? And it's like, not so much.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. And
maybe the book should have been done in advance. Like, maybe there should have been a quest line with Sylvanas. Like, yeah, that would have removed some of the anticipation from the raid, but I think it would have been more interesting to actually like try to understand the villain better as opposed to like this, is she bad or not, we have no idea, let's dissect a 1 minute cinematic over and over for the next year.
And I guess it also kind of feels bad for us knowing that there's a book coming as well on her
Mm.
specifically, because then that makes us feel like it's not over for her. So it's kind of like
Mm.
a spoiler. Um, so maybe it would have been a better idea if they kept that hidden.
Yeah, I mean, maybe COVID delayed things and maybe they would have figured that like people would have known what happens at this point in the raid, but I
Maybe.
do feel
Mm-hmm.
like they stretched things out too long with her.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept of her I think was really interesting. Like
Oh yeah.
this character that clearly suffered at the hands of Arthas, and then came back from the dead and did questionable choices, but was loved by the Forsaken. Like, I think that was like a really strong, cool concept that people latched onto and could resonate with, like the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
um but with all these recent cinematics, like, she is not the underdog. She's just like, like kicking puppies and laughing. Like, it's so, like, all the nuance from her sort of been taken out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just want to know what's up with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe it's controversial, but I think that if we had like a series of cinematics in the style of Jaina for Sylvanas, like, yeah, it wouldn't have been as, hype for marketing, but I think that it could have been more, the player base could have known what's going on with her sooner, and she would have come across like more nuanced or understandable, even if not sympathetic. But
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get that. We instead get, let's like bring her up for the big moments and have her fly away after she wins against a previously overpowered character, like
Yep.
Sourfang, Bolvar, Turan. It's like, okay, we get it, like, she's going to like
Actually, there's
magically
so
get
many
the sword.
face-offs she's had.
Yeah, and it's like all the same beats. Like, there's never a moment where it seems she's going to lose, really. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why the Tyrande exchange was so interesting, where she's like, "Oh, you didn't know." It's like, finally, like, something Sylvanas didn't know. Like, wow,
Yeah.
like, this is a big deal. So, um, but yeah, I'm just we'll cover the cinematic if it's up when the show is still going on. We will discuss it on the show.
Yeah, with this delay,
And
perhaps not.
who knows?
But yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
never
mean,
know. Maybe it starts earlier than it says.
yeah, it's also funny because as we've been doing the show, there's just been like hot fixes pouring in, like the
Mm.
overpowered Corthia trinket got a nerf, Sylvanas tuning is happening,
Wait, even
Kel'Thuzad
before it's
tuning.
out?
Yeah, like all
Okay.
these last minute hot fixes are just pouring in.
Maybe
Apparently,
actual beta testers came in and, you know, made the final decisions on everything right
yeah.
as the servers are coming live. That's actually so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, so like all these things are going out, and Blizzard has the hotfix tech to obviously keep doing these things once the servers are live, but they're definitely pushing stuff out, and I can see why they'd want to get things like Sylvanas tuning out in advance before
Absolutely.
people are,
Before it starts, yeah.
yeah, especially with everyone streaming. Like you don't want. I remember with the Shara, Squishy was trying to clear the raid to see the cinematic, and like she just bugged, and it's like, oh, like this looks
Oh,
really fun.
yeah.
If you're world first cinematic, and then it's like, she's not doing anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, that's awkward. So I
but
guess
yeah,
they
so
just want to make sure everything is working. Mm-hmm.
since we obviously don't have the cinematic to discuss, what are you hoping happens in the Sylvanas cinematic?
Oh, that's
This
the problem.
three
I
crucial
don't even
moments.
know, like, what would make me happy.
Yeah.
um, I am hoping. I don't know if it's fitting because seeing a Savannah cinematic, it's probably going to be related to the raid itself in one way or another. So I'm not sure if it's possible, but I want to see a conversation between Sylvanas and the jailer where they just kind of like go against each other. Whether it's about
Hmm.
Nathanos, perhaps that she realizes maybe that the jailer knew about it, for example, or maybe on the topic of Anduin in one way or another. Maybe we get to see some kind of regret. I don't know, maybe not regret, but some kind of emotion from Savannah's side in conversation with the jailer. I want to see the jailer and Savannah's go against each other because, hey, if we can't kill Savannah's, maybe the jailer can.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting because everyone is like, oh, the jailer is the big bad, he's the big bad behind all the other big bads, like, like the Lich King, the Dreadlords, like everyone is building him up, but he's a very new boss. So we haven't experienced like the impact of why he's such a horrible character. I mean, obviously
Yeah,
he's in
no,
this,
that is true.
dungeon that's all black, and he's 50 feet tall,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a fun place with all the spikes and torturing
Mm-hmm.
Anduin, but we're not as emotionally invested in him as we are when you see the Lich King, after Warcraft 3, and then the
Mm-hmm.
Northrend campaign,
Mm-hmm.
or Deathwing after you see your homeland in flames, or even Mop, which I don't think people gave enough credit to, of the dual threads of seeing Garrosh grow as a leader and then, you know, turn sour, and us, destroying this pretty chill place, realizing that we're the bad guys. Like, there was a lot of emotional investment in some old villains, and here we know that the jailer thought he was doing something good, he wanted to get some knowledge, but it's all like new lore about the cosmic forces that are already kind of a tricky sell from what we explained.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
And
it's like, yeah, like I want to see Sylvanas go toe to toe. So I want them to develop personalities and to, raise the stakes a bit.
mm-hmm. And it is true, Jailer is still somewhat new in our minds because we didn't really know of him for a long time. So even if he would somehow like defeat Sylvanas for us, that probably wouldn't feel very good. Um,
Mm.
maybe having Tyrande, but then I feel like if it's gonna be Tyrande, she's already kind of had a fight with Sylvanas, so then it feels
Yeah.
like it's being extended. I originally thought the best thing would be that Tyrande gets the kill on Sylvanas, but now I don't feel like it's possible anymore because they've already gone 1v1 and Naloon has already kind of made it clear that she doesn't want that to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what could happen next. Maybe some kind of thing about Anduin that kind of blows back at her. Um,
Yeah, I could see something with Anduin happening, and I guess Anduin's presence like makes it more. I guess Anduin being there justifies why Jaina and Thrall were there. Jaina with like their very like family, like parent-child relationship, and Thrall because Anduin helped work with the Horde and Sourfang in BFA.
mhm.
So it does make sense why they're both there to save Anduin. So my guess is that the cinematic would be about Anduin in some form, but then it's like, well, if it's all about Anduin, like, shouldn't this be about Sylvanas? Like, this is,
Yeah.
her moment. So, like, kind of what I was alluding to earlier, what I would like to see from a cinematic would be, like, a series of more personal ones, like, touching upon her past into the present, like we got with Jaina. Like, maybe a cinematic, from, like, the Warcraft 3 days where she's, interacting with, like, Ilaria, Varisa, they're wearing their necklaces, and then we have, like, another one where she's, like, rebuilding the Forsaken, and then, like, another one during Icecrown Citadel where, she's reacting to the death of Arthas, like, maybe dramatizing the moment where she's interacting with the jailer for the first time and makes
Like
the
multiple
deal.
flashbacks.
Yeah, like we got with Illidan at the start of Legion, how he saw things from his perspective and decisions that didn't make a lot of sense to us, with, like, all the context suddenly made a lot more sense. Um, like, I think that having to dig back 10 years for a short story that isn't easily findable on the Blizzard homepage to understand the
That's
first
also true.
meeting with the jailer, I think, like, that would be really cool to see. And they've done such a great job with models and face expressions that I think it would be a really powerful cinematic if, Sylvanas gets the news Arthas is defeated. Like, you see, like, this look of, so, like, she's happy he's defeated, but also feels like her life has no purpose and, like, what's next for her. And she goes to end her life at Icecrown, and then we can see, like, the torment she's in firsthand, and the jailer reaching out to her, and we can see the visual cues and be like, oh, is this part the illusion? Or, like, here's the hesitation. Like, I think that would be a really interesting cinematic if we had a series of flashbacks,
Yeah,
which
you
obviously is not going to happen in this 3-minute raid cinematic, but I think that would be really interesting to show for her.
Yeah, no, you're making a really good point, and it could perhaps be a cinematic in the future, if more space is needed. But it does remind me of the Jaina cinematics. There was that one especially that went back in time as well and gave lots of perspective on her and her relationship with her mom. And I think digging in to show something like that would actually connect a lot of people with the character.
Yeah, like, I thought it was very powerful when
It was.
Jaina was, faced with all of her regrets, and her mom was trying to pull her back. And through those regrets, people that didn't play past expansions could still be like, oh, like, why is, Jaina talking to Arthas? Why is there this gnome? And they could learn more about the past lore. And I feel like Sylvanas has done so many things that you kind of need uh, a similar moment from her. Like, imagine if there was a cinematic dramatizing the jailer, and if she's debating what to do, you literally see, like, manifestations of her past regrets or things she was angry she couldn't change, like, on the screen. I think that would make a lot more sense instead of just purposely keeping her, in the shadows. Like, what I would hate to happen in the cinematic is, like, I don't know, like, Anduin dies and, like, she does her
Oh
speech and
no.
flies off with the jailer. I'm like, we don't need
Another
a
fly
fourth.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I know that the theory of the two souls is being floated around a lot. Like, oh, maybe it's like Uther where the jailer took part of the soul and then, like, another half of her soul was free or hidden somewhere. And
That we
I
would
think that
find
would
maybe.
be, yeah, I mean, I think that's still kind of thorny because it's like, okay, so, like, she wasn't in control of her actions this whole time. Like, where we were analyzing someone that was just being a puppet.
Yeah.
Um, I think that she is smarter than that. Um, and then, of course, there's the rumors that, like, oh, she's gonna do something, really big, that would, change the fate of Shadowlands. So, is she gonna do something that weakens the jailer, but maybe does something in a way that damages other stuff? Is she gonna, I don't know, turn on him for whatever reason? Maybe Nathanos, maybe she had it planned all along, but she does it in a way that hurts the Shadowlands too. And like she tries to take control of the situation. You know, we know the skybox is going to change. That's been, you know, data mined for a while. They've been telegraphing that in their interviews. So yeah, I guess we will learn very soon. But I do think it would have been great if the book came out sooner than later, or if we knew there was going to be like a, you know, 915 like mini Sylvanas storyline. Because I even think Ashara has gotten more backstory with the whole Najatar thing. Like you really understand her culture and mindset and like narcissism for trying to do well by her people for the wrong reasons. And with Sylvanas, you're just like, I don't know. Does she care about her people? Like, not anymore. Does she care about this? Like, we don't know. You know, in the book, she hates Nathanos.
Yeah.
You know, she's bored. Now she's, you know, kind of rattled when he's not by her. So I would just like more answers, less questions, with her narrative stuff moving forward, including the cinematic.
Yeah, I think that's also a very good point. She did leave the Horde in shambles, and like, did she really do anything for the loyalists?
There's like a few little things here and there. Like in the Shadows Rising book, there's a line that she's on. There's like a boat that the loyalists are on.
Okay.
Or there's some dialogue in Orgrimmar where some loyalists are like, I still believe. I believe if you kneel during the Ardenweald quest line, she compliments you or something to that effect if you were a loyalist. But yeah, I mean that whole you know, it still
Because
feels a
even as
bit
loyalists, you're still
strange.
gonna fight her too, right?
Yeah. And it is still a bit of an about face because I remember you know, in Three Sisters and in Before the Storm, like she's talking about how she is you know, proud to lead the Horde. You know, she's proud to be a war chief. And I was like, was that just misdirection, or was that true? Because it's strange to say that she's proud to be the war chief and then be like, oh yeah, but by the way, like, I'm going to just
Yeah. Like, by the way, I
going
don't
to peace
care.
out and you know
Yeah.
have this be a total mess. Um, Apparently servers are now live,
Really?
so yeah,
Wow.
think so.
We
We
could
are
potentially expect a cinematic very soon then.
Yeah. So why don't in the meantime we kind of recap some stuff that is coming uh
Yeah,
with this update because
definitely.
obviously the patch was last week, but a lot of stuff is actually here today.
Yeah,
That
we
wasn't here last week.
we went through the schedule week by week for what is available every week. And now that the patch is here for NA, what can you do now? First of all,
So yeah, go ahead.
flying.
Yeah.
Yay, you can finally fly. There are certain restrictions. You can fly within the 4 zones of Shadowlands, being Ardenweald, Revendreth, Bastion, and Maldraxxus. Almost forgot. Yes, you cannot fly in the Maw or this new zone, Korthia, and you cannot fly in Oribos either. And you can also not fly in between the zones, which kind of makes sense anyways. They do look like
Yeah, it
little
would take you
continents.
longer to fly between zones than in just using the flight path.
Yeah, apparently the technicalities behind it is even more interesting. It would take you, what was it? How long would it be between each zone?
It's definitely like a number of minutes
No,
to
wasn't it
fly
like
between them.
hours?
I thought 30 minutes stuck in
Oh,
my
was
head,
it
but
30? Okay, maybe it
either
was
way,
30 minutes. Yeah, maybe it
yeah,
was.
yeah, it was.
um,
It's bad.
yeah, so they just made it so that you can't fly in between them, which is not too bad. But yeah, that's what it is. So to get flying, you need Renown 32, which you should have if you were
40. You need 44. So I think you meant 42 leading into this week.
yes, you needed the 42 from last week coming
Yeah.
into this week, and then you continue the campaigns, and it should be unlocked as soon as you finish that part.
Yeah. Also, as a side note, I think a lot of people, you know, they know about the renown element and that you get the item to learn to fly when you complete the next step of the 9-1 Covenant campaign. But it's important to note that while you didn't need to do a lot of the launch campaign to unlock 9-1 stuff, you need to have completed all steps of the original Covenant campaign to progress further on the 9-1 stuff. So you need to do all 9 chapters if you want to unlock the flying chapter. It's not just about hitting the renown.
Gotcha.
So,
Good to
I
specify
mean, many
that.
people have a time to catch up, but if like if you're, I don't know, like if you took a break or if you just, I don't know, ground out renown through other means, catch up and didn't bother with the Covenant campaign, you need to go back and do all those steps.
And we knew this for
And
a while. You are meant to do the Covenant campaign in order to unlock it, and the renown that was necessary to unlock it is reachable now if you got the 42 last week.
yeah. And also, if you hit Renown 45, you unlock a flying mount themed after your Covenant. And this mount does not require anima. You just get it and go and enjoy it. And there are other tints you can get by doing other activities. I believe one involves anima. But yeah, this tint is just hit the Renown, get something, which seems to be an improvement over 9-0, which was all about having to do things to, having to grind out anima to buy your reward, which was, kind of ironic.
Yep. Next thing up is the very, very exciting new raid. That's personally the thing that I'm looking most forward to. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the raid Sanctum of Domination, which where we will indeed face off against Sylvanas, and it is potentially, probably, as a ending of this raid where we will see the cinematic. That's what we're expecting.
And there are other interesting bosses with lore backgrounds like Nerzul, who was one of the past Lich Kings, Kalthuzad, who will be fighting for a third time, and even an encounter where we see Garrosh, the anima battery from Revendreth, make an appearance. There's also interesting loot you can get, notably the legendary Hunter Bow, and there are mounts you can get as well. There is one of a cool fallen charger from the 9. There is the Sylvanas mount. There's 4 battle pets, and also everyone's favorite topic, there is domination socketed gear, which is tied to the systems upon systems of shards of domination loot. And looking at the hotfix posted 5 minutes ago, Blizzard has added more types of items that can have domination sockets.
Wait.
So
what?
Yeah. So
as in more different type of slots?
Yeah, there was a lot of tension before how some of the domination slots overlapped with legendaries. And I don't know if this is in response to it, but now Blizzard has added 2 more gear slots depending on your armor type that can come with the sockets. So you're not locked into, my chest, my helm, my shoulders need this. They've added more options. Of course,
is there a max of how many domination gear sockets you can have, or how does it help having more slots? Doesn't that mean that you just want more of it?
You need to have 3 different armor slots with the gems to activate a bonus.
Gotcha.
And one item, it was one thing was mandatory. So a chest piece for a certain armor type. You needed the chest piece. You couldn't just have it on a random thing. So this allows a little more flexibility because you don't feel locked into putting the feeling you need to put domination, all the domination socket options conflict with a good legendary. There's a little more flexibility.
That's so good, but why so late?
Yeah.
Why so last minute?
Yeah.
Because I think most people kind of recrafted their legendaries already.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
And yeah, I think they also just wanted to Yeah, I think they just didn't want some pieces to be dead loot, and they also wanted
Mm-hmm.
you to have more options so you can like mix and match things like legendaries, and then
Mm-hmm.
the also to get your three-piece domination
Mm-hmm.
socket. So
Mm-hmm.
seems like a good thing.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's a great thing.
yeah,
I just wish it happened before, when everyone
yeah,
was
yeah,
talking about having to recraft legendaries.
yeah. Or like a blue post from Blizzard being like, heads up, like we're gonna add another uh more
Yeah.
options, to these sockets. I think that could have also, helped alleviate
Mm-hmm.
some preparation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
anyways, if you were not one of the people who prepared your character to get ready, this is great news because this means that
yeah.
you may not have to worry about what slots you have your legendary on. So that's
Yeah.
good.
We have Shard of Domination guides on Wowhead, explaining your gearing strategy for this.
Mm-hmm.
They're all live. We will be promoting them. Maybe would give our writers a little bit of time to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, make sure things are still correct.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we will be promoting that very soon, and they are all live, and our writers are troopers for handling all of these, you know, last minute things on Blizzard's end.
Mm-hmm. And Wowhead you guys have also come out with strategy guides for all the other things that are also now available, like Tazavish.
Yeah, so that is the new Mega Dungeon. It's
Mm-hmm.
not available on Mythic Plus difficulty yet, but it is available just as a Mythic Dungeon with a bonus hard mode level, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to do a little quest line to unlock it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have guides to all the loot, as well as normal mode and hard mode, and this is the dungeon that has that very convoluted lore book, so if you have some extra time and you want to do some like PhD level cosmic reading, you can check that out as well in Tazamesh. So yeah,
Yep.
I think it looks really cool. Like it kind of gives me Suramar vibes, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like the coloration or the whole bazaar aesthetic, like the outdoor market.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it looks cool. I wouldn't mind seeing more broker zones. I think it looks really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think the broker theme is really cool.
Yeah.
And
Um,
then we also got the oh yeah, the extra Torghast floors unlocking.
Yeah, so we have two Torghast things. The first is that layer 10 unlocks, which means you can get more soul cinders
Mm-hmm.
per week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, the other thing is that if you've spec'd your tower knowledge correctly, you should be able to unlock the adamant vaults from the box of many things. And this is a source of some cosmetic item rewards like, transmog. Um, and yeah, there's like new traps, new spikes,
Mm-hmm.
new bosses in there. It's tied to some achievements. It's not just, unlocking randomly this week. You need to do certain things, to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, keep up with your tower knowledge and have fun with this bonus floor.
Yeah, indeed. And last but not least, we have Mythic Plus now being available. The
Yeah. Oh yeah,
season
and PvP.
and PvP as
Um
well. The season has officially
yeah.
started.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can talk about the esports announcement too. But yeah, with Mythic Plus, it's interesting because, new season, we have the Affix Tormented, which people are talking about a lot more positively, or at least in more interesting fashion
Mm-hmm.
than Prideful, because you have to choose like what anima powers are available and best for your class tied to the lieutenant. There are some well received keystone utility improvements. For example, you can do like a one time exchange of your keystone. You can deplete a keystone officially, as opposed to, kind of doing that, kind of
Like the
unintended
reset.
method.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you can also receive a keystone if you don't have one. If, for example, you didn't play for more than a week and you don't have a keystone.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, dungeon changes, some affix tuning. And the mythic rating we're all very familiar with, even from last week, but, just be aware that it exists, and some of the requirements for upgrading your Valor or getting mounts in Season 2 have changed because they're based on your in-game rating, not,
Yeah.
completing a level 15 or whatever.
That's a good reminder for anyone who might have just kind of gotten back in. We have a Mythic Plus scoring system and a Torghast scoring system as well that you might want to check out, and you can read all about it on Wowhead to get an understanding of how it all works.
And we'll be working on some guides soon, like how to do like a really good, Torghast run, so you can get to the next layer, because it's not just like, oh, layer 10, let me waltz in. It's like, oh, you have to do well at layer 9 to get into layer 10. So, yeah. What I did want to mention with the esports thing was that Blizzard announced yesterday that the MDI was getting a big format change, and they were removing cups, which seems pretty important that they're listening to feedback.
Oh, that's really good.
And,
yeah, I remember the cups was taking up so much time for all the Mythic Plusers.
Yeah, they were saying that, like, it was leading to burnout, and it was, kind of repetitive. I'm trying to find the exact quote from here about why they were removing cups. Oh yeah, they're saying that throughout Season 1, teams struggled with the extensive time requirements to compete in weekly time trials just for their shot at the broadcast cups. This format led to player fatigue, while it also risked diminishing the stakes of matches, as many of the same teams kept advancing to the cups each week. For Season 2, we're introducing a new 3-phase system that aims to lessen demands on each team while ensuring that every single moment truly matters. Time trials will determine teams advancing to the group stage. The top 6 teams will advance to the global finals, and there's also a last stand tournament where it's more in the style of the Great Push, and that's how the final global final spot is determined by this last chance tournament. So this is taking place in August and September. So yeah, obviously
it's good to see an update on that. I think we're kind of getting used to really bad PR and Blizzard not doing things in time for us, and I think it's nice to see that some things are being looked at. So I'm really happy for the MDI interested people, especially competitors, to have this happen, because that means that they can, not get burnt out from trying to compete and have fun. So that's awesome.
Yeah, you don't want people thinking that like it's not worth their time if they're a talented WoW player to not do this type of tournament. That seems like detrimental to what they're trying to do.
Indeed. So that's really good. And I think that was it in terms of what is available now. And that covers all the news as well. And now the only question mark now is, are we getting a cinematic soon?
Yeah. So, I mean, I know, Limit is jumping in, obviously, Top Gills are. Squishy usually goes for cinematics are. But obviously they're not going to keep it in, 10 minutes.
Very exciting, though, for all of us now. Patiently waiting.
Yeah. So, yeah. Let me just drop a note into the notes for you to read, Annie. 1 sec. Okay. Let's see.
Also, we have the 6-month shop bundle. I'm not sure if, if we had that from last week, or if that was since last week.
Oh yeah, that was since last week. Yeah, we can talk about that, as well as the alternate mount tint, because that could be a hint for like future stuff.
So this mount was just released as a promotion for a 6-month subscription, and that means people who are already on these subscriptions get it for free. And anyone who wants the mount but doesn't want to be on a 6-month subscription can get it as a regular store mount for I believe $25 or whatever the original price is in your region. And the extra interesting thing about this mount is that there is an alternative one with let me show you guys this mount from this perspective, and then we have an alternative version with a different color there.
Yeah. We don't know where to get the other color from, but there is speculation it could be a winter promotion mount if you look at the flavor text side by side, because the blue one is these brilliant blue birds burn brighter and hotter than their orange cousins, though the origin of both remains a mystery. And now that we know that the bluebird is tied to this blue winged mount, and they refer to an orange cousin, and the other data mine mount is orange, it seems to be clear they're referring to this other version. And then the fire plume phoenix is tore a blazing sky through a wintry night, did the hawk with fiery wings. What future foretold, what story would unfold, when the elements take to the sky and sing. So when they talk about, through a wintry night, that makes me think that this could maybe be the next mount when the promotion is up on this blue one, which would be in December, which, ties in with the wintry night well.
Wait, what was it that you said would be in December?
Oh, so if the orange mount, I think, could be coming in December, because the flavor text talks about a wintry night. And
Gotcha.
if a mount pops up every 6 months, 6 months from when the blue one, that would take us from, June to December. So I think that this would then be the, December 6-month promotion we see popping up.
And this one is definitely a promotion too, right?
Yeah, they were both marked as promotion in the database.
Okay. I was hoping one would not be, because have you seen the animation of this mount?
Yeah, I mean, it's it looks, yeah, I also feel like if you put two mounts and they have the same model,
If they're the
people are
same,
going to
yeah.
meme that it's a store mount recolor. So to me, it would be cool if maybe something was part of a, I don't know, Christmas bundle or fiery mount bundle, or I don't know, do something
Charity.
else and get this Diablo
Yeah.
collector's edition
A different
mount.
promotion.
Yeah, different promotion.
Yeah, I think
So.
I think that would be cool. But yeah, for anyone who does play the game regularly and already have these subscriptions running, then congrats, it's an extra free mount for you, and it's a really cool one. But I do hope that the recolor of it would have a different source. I think that would be cooler.
I also wonder if there's anything we can speculate from how the mount looks, because we saw that the Vulpine familiar in BFA looks like the Ardenweald mount, or the Mystic Runesaber from Warlords of Draenor was Suramar themed. The Steam Scale Incinerator is very Mechanome. So does this mount remind you of anything? To me, it looks kind of like Titan, Legion priest mount themed. So
yeah, that armor definitely gives a Titan feel to it.
Yeah, the whole gem in the middle kind of gives me part of Azeroth vibes. The priest class mount was also tied to the Titans, and I'm getting the same vibe from the wings with the armor. So yeah, maybe
it feels a little bit Bastion, but it can't be, because Bastion is already here. So yeah, maybe some kind of Titan direction.
Yeah. I mean, we can't learn a ton based on the character writing it. We have a Death Knight with purple hair, and they seem to be in Grizzly Hills.
Yeah.
With the Mechanome, with the Steam Scale, when it's it's a gnome on it, it's, clearly a Mechanome thing. But with the Death Knight, it's no one really, can't really leap to too many conclusions there. But, Yeah, I think there could be some sort of Titan construct vibe. I mean, don't forget we still have the Sargeras, the sword, in Azeroth,
Sure.
and we're seeing all these like revelations about the cosmos from a different point of view that isn't the Titans. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll like revisit Azeroth and learn more about what our original cosmic forces are thinking about. But yeah, I think it gives off a Titan vibe. Um, and yeah, it's maybe we'll see more of these creatures in a future patch, like an unarmored version as well.
Yeah. A little bit of a teaser.
Yeah. Um,
Well, with that, I
so
think it might need to be a wrap up of the show. It seems like we did
yeah,
not get a cinematic in time, unfortunately.
yeah. It's like it's sad because like we started the show relatively on time and we talked a lot about the Tyrande one.
Yeah.
Um, and like I think we tried to like extend the show to be like oh maybe it will overlap. And it just didn't
And then it's out
happen.
1 minute after the show.
But I definitely still think that we had a really good conversation about Tyrande and like some hopes and fears for
Mm-hmm.
the cinematic. So maybe on the bright side, like we can take some time to like collect our thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
like reflect on how it all um went down. Like maybe if we did it right after, we would have like missed some detail, or maybe the day
That
after
is
there'd be
true
like a
too.
little
It's nice
follow
to
up
watch
quest
it a
that
couple
popped up.
times as well.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to both things. Obviously, we thought doing shows on Tuesday would, all help you out, but also be really good for cinematics. And
Mm-hmm. Then this
we were
happened.
unlucky both times,
Yeah.
but stuff happens, and
Yeah.
I think we still had a pretty lively conversation,
Mm-hmm.
lots of thoughts on it,
Mm-hmm.
on the Tehran one a week after, and I'm sure we'll have a
Mm-hmm.
fun conversation on the Sylvanas one too.
Yeah. Can watch it next week and have some proper thoughts on it, even before the show, to have a proper discussion. And I see a comment
Yeah.
in the chat. Where can we go to more likely see the cinematic? I would recommend you guys to just follow Twitter because Wowhead will definitely tweet it as soon as it's out. Um,
Mm.
I would say that's probably the fastest way to see it. You can also probably check out different streams that are attempting to clear the raid as soon as possible. But just checking it on Twitter because it's gonna be posted. Or maybe
I
just
have
the
a
Wowhead front
feeling.
page.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have like a skeleton of a post prep that's like, Sylvanas Cinematic is here, with like a stock
All
image
the
of her
text
in the
already
raid.
done. You
Yeah.
just need a video.
Story spoiler, like we don't know what happens, but just chuck the cinematic link in and go. Like so
Hmm.
whenever we see it, it will be up very
Very fast.
quickly.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I know Squishy from Wowhead, he always does normal mode clears.
Hmm.
And he's the guy that did like the world first, like a shower clear.
Hmm.
I mean, it sounds so fancy, but like he definitely makes like a joke that he purposely does them on normal to get us the cinematic because um, Blizzard usually will have the cinematic only be data mined once someone clears the end of the
Hmm.
raid.
Hmm.
Because there was like an oopsie where they had the Gul'dan one in the data like months before the fight came out.
Oh,
You're like,
yeah.
oh, we can't have that happen again. But
Yeah.
sometimes for important story beats, they will put the cinematic up on their channel if they don't want, like the people's first reaction to be like, a streamer with, like alerts popping up on the screen. So
Mm.
this seems pretty important. Maybe they'll do it for this, but,
Hmm.
to cover all the bases, we're sending Squishy into speed clear the raid and get us that, you know,
Gotcha.
crack that
Hmm.
encryption for us so Stevan can,
Hmm.
post the data mine cinematic. But either way,
Gotcha.
we will have something for you today.
Hmm.
And, we hope, we're hoping it's a great cinematic from not just a visual and standalone perspective, but also from a story perspective. I hope it ends on a satisfying note.
I hope so too. I hope so too. But yes, so you can check out the streams that are trying to quickly clear normal. or you can just follow Wowhead on socials, because as soon as it's up, it will be posted. And apparently Squishy is back up. Squishy was gone, but is back up now. Before we end, let's also quickly thank some people. We got Night Shaman with a fresh new subscription. Thank you very much, and welcome. Then we have Sora, who gifted Mongvat a sub. Thank you for that as well. And that's about it for today. Are you ready for a clap?
I am ready for a clap.
Five.
Yeah, high five. We're good to go. All right.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Perfect high five. On point. We'll be back next week, same time, I believe, perhaps. We'll keep you guys posted on Twitter. As usual, you can follow me on Twitter, AnyFuchsia. You can follow Perk on Twitter, Perculia. You can follow Wowhead on Twitter, /Wowhead. The announcement of the show is always on all the channels, and you can also follow this channel on Twitch to be notified whenever anything goes live. On this channel, we usually do Wowhead Weeklies, but sometimes you can also see other types of content, like data mining, for example, which usually starts shortly after for the new patch later on. So yeah, definitely follow the channel if you haven't, to be notified of future streams. Yay! See you all next week. Take care until then, and NA, enjoy your new content today, and EU, I'm with you. I'm waiting for tomorrow as well. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.